Welcome back. You listen to the Omi Show. I am Omi Bell, and I am here. I'm so excited. Okay, I just want to let y'all know the lady that I have on the show today. I met her maybe 2 or 3 CESs ago, I think it was, and I have admired her from afar. And over the course of the last couple of years, we've been able to have more conversations. And so I'm excited to jump into this because she's released a book that I want to tell you all about. But it's important for you to get to know who she is. And when I have guests, I got to put some respect on her name. So y'all gonna have to listen to this bio and get into it. All right. Today joining me is Suezette Yasmin Robotham. She is an internationally respected tech executive. Immediately when I say internationally respected, I want to be like internationally known,
locally respected. Yes.
executive coach, keynote speaker, and cultural strategist. She has led at influential organizations like Google and Meta, and advised Fortune 500 companies, universities, and global organizations on building human-centered, inclusive, and courageous cultures. I love the courageous part of that. She helps high-achieving professionals lead with courage, clarity, and authenticity, especially in spaces where they've been taught to shrink. Known for her warmth, wit, and unflinching honesty, Suzette is the mentor we all wish we had in the room. Welcome to the show, Suezette Yasmin Robotham. How you feeling today?
You made me sound so good.
Well, you did it. You know what I mean? It's you. I get to say all of that and hand you your flowers in honor of what you have accomplished, and the world should know about it, and you're making sure that happens. So you have a book that you've written. So out of all the things you've done so much. You have a book that you've written. The book is called Beyond Titles, Fearlessly Leading as Your Authentic Self. Get it wherever you buy books, Amazon, all over. Make sure you're going and looking for this book, Beyond Titles, Fearlessly Leading as Your Authentic Self. You're going to hear me name that a few times, so I make sure y'all get that so y'all can go get it. And for my Omi homies, I'll make sure I send it out to y'all on a text link so y'all can go directly to the site and pick it up. You could be doing anything in the world. You could be sailing the 7 seas. You can be climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, which we have a friend that did that. You could be doing whatever you want. Let's take it back a step.
Yeah.
Why did you choose this path of executive leadership for these large companies?
First of all, I want to give you your quick flowers because I would be remiss if I didn't honor your greatness and admiring and watching you do incredible work in the name of making sure that the collective flourishes. And so while I've been a fangirl from afar, thank you then also for seeing me, because I think there are sometimes that people talk about the things that they are about, and there are people that live it, and you are a liver of goodness and of light. And so thank you for opening the door.
Girl, that made me cry on these airways.
I know. We got to have, like the whole interview was a love fest. But if I go back, I think that I have to honor that I've had a pretty circuitous journey that on the outside may feel like, luck. And I don't believe in luck, or that if anything is by chance, but it's been a journey to committing my life and leaning into the fact that my purpose is creating access and opportunity for others. And when I think about organizations and companies, the first way to do that is through talent acquisition in the talent lens and lane. And so, 30 years ago, I thought I was going to be OBGYN.
Really?
First generation.
Is that what you wanted to be when you grow up, kind of thing?
It's funny because I talk about this in the book. And I asked, so the book is very much a self-work book, but before somebody told you anything different or that it was wrong, what did you want to be when you grew up? And I wanted to be a photographer. But as a Jamaican, I needed to have, that photo phone. I needed that.
You tell your parents you out here trying to be a photographer.
Okay, you gonna be a photographer of what? So, first gen, and I love my parents for this. But so, my mother found out she was pregnant with me while she was in nursing school, and so ended up having to unfortunately drop out. And so, as a little girl, I picked up her gynecology books and her obstetrics books. And I was like, oh my God, like I want to be an OBGYN. And, you know, watching The Cosby Show, which for better or for worse, you know, was very much cornerstone for our childhood and how we saw ourselves. I was like, I want to be an OBGYN until I got to my freshman year at the University of Florida and discovered that, you know, our sciences were weed out. And got weeded out. And so, you know, if I was going to be sports management, and ended up in our human resources major, not knowing that focus on organizational health and organizational culture and, you know, all those things would come back to be very much foundational to how I would lead and how I would show up. Right. So left University of Florida, went to policy school because I wanted to be a policy wonk. And ended up, my very first big girl job was in the office of the chief of staff at Atlanta Public Schools. And again, creating access and opportunity through policy and that lens. And ended up, I got into the Teach for America Corps in 2003. And my mother, again, that Jamaica lady shows up in every conversation, was like, you're going to go to grad school. Teach for America will come back to you. And I'll tell you, she's psychic because she also gets my GRE score. In 2007, Teach for America came back to me about being their first director of district strategy for the Atlanta region. It was my foray into teacher placement and talent acquisition and partnering with the districts, especially when I just work with and bringing talent in. And then was in, you know, education reform for 10 years. And in 2015 was recruited to Google from LinkedIn and have been in the talent space there. And so I think my journey, the TLDR of it, somebody in tech will be like, well, what's the point? But the TLDR of it has been open.
What's TLDR?
Too long, don't read.
Oh, okay. Right?
Okay. What's the cliff notes?
Now I'm acting like I knew what it meant this whole time. I'm gonna use it. But...
You know what? Because you want the meat and the potatoes and the meal and the feast of it. But for me, it has been being open to the opportunities that have shown up in my life and my journey that have just continued to grow and develop me, right? Because I also have a thirst and an appetite for constant learning. And so in most decisions that I've made professionally have been like, this next opportunity is going to grow me and help me to develop and be present in another space and create access in this next space. And so for me, the transition from education reform to tech also made sense because we spent all that time talking about getting our babies to and through college, and then they're leaving college and not being able to find work and opportunity. And so I've just been honoring the purpose and the journey of my life and have found great success in doing that.
I love that. You know, your story, I have a question based off of the story you tell. Do you think that great leaders are born or made?
Ooh, I think it's a combination of both, right? I think everybody is born, although we are not always placed in the world with, you know, optimal or ideal conditions. We're brought into this world to be great. And it's, are you given the opportunities, you know, the access, the opportunity to live out and fulfill your destiny? So I think that there's both the opportunity to be born. I know mediocrity shows up in a lot of ways, but I do think mediocrity is also, especially at this big old age, a choice, and doesn't have to be a destination. So I think it's a combination of both.
Because your story very much sounds like you were born a leader. And one of the things I want to highlight about what's so important about being in positions is, and the positions that you have been in, to be visible, is the see it, be it factor there, right? Like you, even like seeing your mom's books, like I think that sometimes like some parents, when they don't achieve a certain thing, a lot of that is hidden, right, from the kid. And so the kid doesn't even see what the parent was even potentially going after. And then I think there is, you know, to your point, you know, good, bad, right, wrong, and different. The Cosby Show, right? Let's X out the man and all that. But the Cosby Show itself was this see it, be it phenomenon that impacted, I would say, hundreds of thousands of Black folks and what they thought it could be, right? And what we thought family could look like and where family goals went. So not only family goals, but professional goals and goals of like how you would talk to, be a leader in some way, talk to people, deal with people, bring in people, relate to people. And so there's a lot of see it, be it there. I'm willing to bet there's people who also have seen you lead and also felt like, oh, you know what, I could lead too. Do you think that there was a point where authenticity grew into, like you grew into authenticity, or was this always like who you were, 100% of the time. And then I have a follow on that around like going into these larger environments. Teach for America is interesting. I was a teacher for 7 years. And Teach for America is interesting. But I think that like going into these different corporate environments, was authenticity something you could always be? So I guess my first question is, did you grow into it? And was there a point where you're like, hold up, I'm not going to keep, whatever, wearing a mask or code switching? Was that a thing?
So I love this question because you are also familiar with the education reform space, and education reform space very much has a communication style, right? And so it's always funny to me when I had friends that were teachers that did not come through the core, and I'd be talking to them. So I never actually taught as a core member. I always was on the business side. But when you would talk to other teachers, you'd be like, it's always like kind of that, oh, like it's very clear when teachers are from that, because there's very much a template and a mold and an understanding for communication, and right. And so when I think there are two things for me. When I think about authenticity, especially authentic leadership and being able to show up authentically in yourself, what I want people to be clear on is I'm not talking about the superficial layers and levels of what authenticity in a workplace is, right? So a lot of times people go to, oh, can I show up with my nails, done? Or, in banking, can I wear, purple instead of blue and white? I think what we have to acknowledge at the point that we have chosen the path of working for other people, there are going to be cultural norms. There are going to be policies to keep us all, equal and equitable. And so I'm not talking about the aesthetic of authenticity. What I'm talking about is only if you and I are sitting in a meeting, can a leader create space for both of our voices to be heard, even if we communicate differently, right? Is there an allowance of style? Is there allowance for processing? Is there allowance for different ways of being, but contributing to help drive business impact, right? And so authentic leadership then requires a level of self-awareness, self-trust, discernment, intentionality, right? And it's not simply, it's funny. Someone would tell you this is the shortest my nails have ever been in 30 plus years, right? Like I've always been able to aesthetically show up as myself. But when I'm sitting in conversations, and so going back to the ed reform example, where I don't use upspeak, I'm not going to talk you up to the answer. Can you still hear and allow for my perspective and my directness in a space where everyone is communicating in a specific way? And so my aha moment, actually, then, as you can imagine, is I was like 26 years old. I just come from the school district. And, the thing that I will say is, mentorship has been pivotal for me throughout my life. So in a world where my parents weren't necessarily executives, I've found leadership. I found my leadership journey influenced by mentors that had those experiences, right? That saw me, valued my skill set, and trusted that I would follow their guidance, right, and not waste their time. And my very first mentor actually was my very first boss at Atlanta Public Schools, Dr. Janice Monk-Reardon. And on my first day of work, she said, look, I didn't bring you into the school district to stay here for the rest of your life, because it's easy once you're in a district to stay. I brought you here to help grow and develop you and to leverage your skill set to help drive forward like our legislative policy, but I'm not trapping you here. For the time that you're here, I'm going to make sure that you have access to all of the leadership development that every single one of our school district leaders has, so that you can continue to learn and grow and develop. And so I'm 23 years old, sitting next to the associate superintendent, learning how to create a PMO, next to the new chief strategy officer, learning about best practices in project management, right? And so to have come from a space where that's how I was introduced from leadership, my perspective now coming into this organization is there's going to be a continued commitment to my learning, growth, and development, but my leadership voice matters because, again, at 23, I'm sitting next to women with 30 years of experience, men with 40 years of experience being honored and valued. And so that wasn't the case, right? Like I learned pretty quickly that there was a way of communicating that was respected, right? There were folks that their perspective was valued more simply because they sat in a specific seat, and it was uncomfortable for me. And, I'm now 26. I'm the director of district strategy. I came from the school district that we serve. And I'm telling you what people that love and respect me, but also see my value and my worth as an employee and now a partner are telling me about our relationship with them. And my executive director was pushing back on me. And we finally, in a very spicy conversation, and I was like, hey, look, the way that you want to build relationships is not right. Not with that district. I'm telling you, it has to be grassroots. You have to know everyone. But more importantly, I am the best relationship builder you know, and nobody builds better relationships than me. And it was stand on the business of you don't hear me and you can't receive me because I'm not speaking like them, but it doesn't make me wrong. It means that how can you as my leader flex to have a better understanding and clarity of that? And really quickly, I'll tell you kind of what came from that. So I left and went on and joined another organization in Nashville, but I did go back to Teach for America in 2011. And I was up for a promotion to go to the national team. And my executive vice president at the time went back to him to ask for a reference. And he said to her, and I know he said it to her because she came back and said it to me when I asked him about you, he said, she is the best relationship builder I know. Nobody builds better relationships than her. Right. And so again, and he also came back and apologized to me at a later time about how he managed me. But it's as a leader, are you creating conditions in the space and the environment, right, where people can trust that they're different or their communication style is not perfect, but they can still contribute and have an impact?
You know what's interesting is that when you are your authentic self, you reach people's edge really quickly.
Yeah.
Like, because it would just get found out, like with enough interaction. My dad used to always say, like, people tell you everything, you just listen to them.
Right.
Like, I think that you let people talk and you listen to them, you'll find out the things. But then when you start asking questions that are more poignant,
Right.
questions that really are seemingly natural to you, because you're like, hey, I see this thing and I think this is the thing we need to do, and I know it because I've been doing the thing that lets me know that we need to do the thing.
Right.
And then people are like, wait. I always say, like, I'm not a good employee when I tell my story, because I always wanted to fix things that nobody wanted to fix. I'm a systems person because I'm a computer scientist. So I'm a systems person. So I will always see, like, oh no, we don't need to change all that. We need to change this thing. You know what I mean? And nobody wanted to change that thing. Everybody wanted to cater to the symptoms.
Yeah.
And so what I'm loving inside of what you're talking about is when authenticity shows up in you in a moment, but you're met with somebody else's edge, right? Like, that's essentially it. Like, the truth of what you were saying was the truth of what you were saying. And I think this is such a great conversation for right now, right? Like, there's so many things that people are seeing and knowing and whatever, but the dance of, like, do I say anything?
Right.
Do I not? Like, is this a time for my authentic stuff to show up? Like, should I not? Like, how do you move through that? Like, was there a place in this instance you just gave that you ever thought to be like, maybe I shouldn't say nothing?
I think I'd reached my last day of maybe I shouldn't say nothing, because it was becoming a hindrance to the work that I knew I was being asked to do, which was ensuring that we could place right, our teachers in the district. And it's, there's a saying, and I might massacre it, right? It's like, do you want to be right or do you want peace? Right.
Yeah.
And I think to take that a step further in the workplace, it's, do you want to be right or do you actually want to drive right business outcomes, right? And you needing to feel like the driver of strategy and the person that made the final decision doesn't make it right, right? And I think a lot of times people have seen what is rewarded, and a lot of times what people feel is a reward is credit. And the reward isn't credit, actually, especially in an environment where we're being called to ensure that students have equitable access to high quality education through our teachers, right? In that specific point. And so for me, again, it was, I don't care if you want to be right. What I'm telling you is that perspective is going to limit our ability to actually move the needle and to continue to have a strong partnership and not be viewed as a service provider, but actually as a partner to this district, right? And so again, eventually he did come back and apologize, right, later on in my second tenure about how he managed me. But sometimes, to your point around systems, when we see what a system rewards and what behaviors are, put on a pedestal, we'll sometimes mimic that instead of doing what we know to be true, right, for the greater good of the work and for the people. And so for me, and going back to your point, I've been a disruptor my whole life, right? I talk a little bit about it in my book, but my mother, for my 40th birthday, every day starting November 1st until November 17th, she talked about what it felt like being pregnant with me. And everybody's like, that's so beautiful. I was like, I was terrorizing that lady's body. She's like, you kicked me and I fell down and I had to sleep on 7 pillows. And then I came out a whole month and a half early. So I was a preemie, and in the NICU, I was kicking out my needle every night, right? Like, to your point about our leaders born,
Yeah,
I was
no, ma'am.
born.
I don't know about everybody else, but you absolutely. So we gotta hold that thought. We gotta go to a quick break. This I'm loving this. You listen to the Omi Show. I'm Omi Bill. I'm here with Suzette Yasmin Robotham, and she is the author of Beyond Titles: Fearlessly Leading as Your Authentic Self. We got more conversation coming after the break. Y'all keep it locked right here. We'll be right back.